goodness. Okay, so for those of you who do not know me, my name is Shara Carruthers. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, lifestyle consultant, and wellness mentor. And I work primarily with women who feel like they may have lost their mojo somewhere along the line. Maybe it's, they're overwhelmed at work, or maybe they've got family commitments or responsibilities that feel like they've kind of, their lives, they may feel like their lives are kind of dragging the life out of them. And so I work with them in a way that's individual, in a way that's natural, in a way that is holistic, to get back that mojo, to get back that energy, that vibrancy. And I love it. I love this work. Okay, so today we're talking about Ayurvedic hair care, right? What do we do with our hair? So many people, women and men alike, have had this experience of hair loss, and myself included. And I can tell you there is nothing kind of more disconcerting than being in the shower and all of a sudden hairs are coming out at a rate that feels far more unusual than the usual. And so what I wanted to do is talk to you a little bit about just a few things, a little bit about the Ayurvedic perspective of where that comes from, why that might be happening. Because I know for a lot of folks, myself included, when this happens, if this happens, there's a lot of confusion about where it's coming from and, what could be at the cause of it. And as you know, if you've had any experience of Ayurveda really wants us to understand the root cause. And it really also wants us to consider that as human beings, we are these complex systems that have a lot going on. And so there could be many things that could be at the root of the issue with hair loss. As well as that, some of the things that I'll be talking to you about in terms of helping to address your hair loss will also be great things for you to consider, even if you are not having hair loss, even if you just want to ensure that your hair is healthy and that will serve you for as long as it possibly can. So first, let's talk a little bit about where hair loss could be coming from. Well, from an Ayurvedic perspective, hair loss is related to an imbalance of pitta. So pitta dosha is responsible, or pitta energy is responsible for our digestion and our metabolism, the heat in our bodies. It plays a role in the health and well-being of things like our liver and our kidneys, as well as the obviously all the digestive, the systems and organs related to the digestive system. And so we're often going to see hair loss when we find that we've got an increase of that pitta energy or some kind of an imbalance of that pitta energy. What does that look like? How does that show up in our lives? Stress, any kind of tension or situations where there is emotional or mental and emotional tension. When there's an excess of heat in the body. So that could even be related to an excess of heat outside the body. So when you're dealing with temperatures that are warm, maybe in the summertime, when you're putting an excess of heat on your hair. So lots of people are going for those blowouts, and lots of people have, used kind of hair dryers and things like that. That sort of stuff can be an issue. For women, menopause is a time that's associated with an increase of pitta. If you're having any issues at all with your digestive system, maybe it's out of whack for any particular reason. Maybe your diet is a little bit too high in things like caffeine or alcohol, sour foods, excessively spicy foods. All of these things have an impact on pitta dosha, and all these things also have an impact on your digestive system. So if you find that your hair is thinning, consider a couple of things. Consider how well you're digesting. That's really important. If your digestive system feels out of whack, so you may be experiencing things like IBS, or you might be experiencing issues with like acid reflux, diarrhea, or on the opposite side of it, you might be experiencing things like heaviness in the belly, or your elimination systems, or your elimination perhaps isn't really working that smoothly. These things can result in things like hair loss. The other thing to consider is your state of mind. Are you excessively angry, aggravated, overly stressed? working or spending a lot of time in environments that feel like they're tense or stressful. Those things might actually be having an impact on the state and the health of your hair. And then lastly, are you experiencing any hormonal shifts? So for women, that could actually be monthly cycle. It could be menopause, perimenopause. It could also be pregnancy and postpartum. So consider all of those things first when you're trying to get to the bottom of where your hair loss is coming from, or where your hair thinning is actually coming from. And so now let's talk a little bit about, and then you can obviously address those things. So let's talk a little bit about how you can address hair loss and how you can actually take really good care of your hair. So the best place to start is to start with your state of mind. Our state of mind is such an incredibly important factor in our state of health physically. And so the Ayurvedic mantra for balancing Pitta dosha is cooling, calming, moderation, and flow. Cooling, calming, moderation, and flow. Just saying those words has a beautiful effect. So we want to be thinking a little bit about how we can be fostering a sense of calm and cooling in the mind, right? So if you're dealing with a really busy or stressful time in your life, and these things happen, and we don't have control of what happens outside of us, we have to consider how we can maintain a sense of calm within. So meditation is really great. For me, and for lots of other people, spending time outdoors, maybe time near sources of water like lakes or the beach, can be quite cooling and quite calming. Let's talk a little bit about moderation and flow. We live in a world, and I was just talking about this yesterday, we live in a world where intensity is king. We have this experience of wanting more, of doing more, of even pushing ourselves to the limit in our exercise, the way that we eat and interact with people, even just the number of things that we kind of take on. And so consider this idea of moderation. Have a look through your life and through the way that you're living at the moment to consider if there's an overindulgence or an overabundance of things, and consider how you might be able to pull that back a little bit and find a little bit of moderation. As well as that, are you prone to pushing it? Are you prone to, rather than allowing things to flow? I've got a friend who has a beautiful saying, if it doesn't flow, it doesn't go. And so sometimes we come up against situations in our lives where we're trying to make something happen and it's just not happening. And we're pushing and consider that allowing some things, allowing that experience of flow in your life rather than having to push things, to their limit, or rather than trying to make things work when they really aren't working. The next thing is to think a little bit about your diet. So we're wanting to incorporate a couple of different things. We want to incorporate things that are going to boost your digestion, right? So we want to make sure that digestion is working really well, because that will ensure that the entire body-mind is working well. So we want to boost your digestion. The greatest way to do that is by having foods that are easy to digest, those foods that are cooked, but also by incorporating some digestion boosting spices into your diet. Simple things like ginger, great. You can sneak ginger into just about anything. Can I tell you? Ginger, cinnamon is great. Cumin is fantastic. Turmeric. So if you're not including any spices in your diet and you know that your digestion is just not quite optimal, consider adding some of those digestive spices to your diet. And as I said, you can slip those things into anything from your smoothies to your soups to your grilled cheese sandwiches. You can put them into just about anything, and they boost flavor as well as boosting your digestion. You're also going to want to consider, remember that cooling, you're going to want to consider incorporating foods that are perhaps just a little bit on the cooling side. For this time of year, regardless of whether you're coming into summer or winter, avocados are fantastic. They've got this beautiful moisturizing, which is great for those of us who are experiencing winter right now, but they also have a cooling energy. You're going to want to include some things like leafy greens, especially if it's summertime for you or you're heading into the summer. On the winter side, you can cook those leafy greens, maybe throw in a little bit of cinnamon or a little bit of ginger or turmeric perhaps instead of cinnamon. So you're going to want to include foods in your diet that are cooling as well. And then lastly, there's a couple of Ayurvedic herbal preparations that are fantastic. And of course, we're wanting to take care of what's going on inside of us, right? And we're wanting to do our best to deal with what's going on around us, but we also got to kind of deal with the actual, the hair itself. And so what I would recommend is two things. The first is Bringaraj. Bringaraj. I will spell it out and put it into the comments. Bringaraj is a beautiful herb. Bringaraj actually means the king of hair, I believe. And so there's a couple of different, you can get Bringaraj oil, which is terrific. If you have a tendency towards dry or drier hair, like myself, Bringaraj oil is really wonderful, and you can do like a hot oil type of a treatment a couple of times a week, where you massage the oil into the scalp and bring it out to the hair, leave it on for a little bit, and then wash it out with warm water. Bringaraj oil, fantastic. And the other way of using Bringaraj is by buying the powder. And there's a number of different Ayurvedic herbal manufacturers. Banyan Botanicals is great. And actually, I've seen Bringaraj oil even just in a really good health store. So Bringaraj is great. And if you want to use the powder, you can mix the powder with a little bit of water into a paste and do the same thing. You can put that onto the scalp, leave it on, put your towel maybe around your head, leave it on for a little bit, cool out, maybe do a little bit of meditation, and then wash that out a couple of times a week. Terrific treatment. The other thing that I would recommend, the other herbal preparation I would recommend for that, actually there's two more. The other, hi Pam, is Amla oil, fabulous. Amla oil is terrific, and you can use that in the same way that you use Bringaraj oil. You can also get Amla powder, but I typically think, I find that Amla oil is a little bit better. And then obviously there's neem as well. Neem is wonderful for reducing pitta, and so you can use that in the same way. Not neem oil, but I would recommend maybe neem powder if you can get your hands on some neem leaves, grinding those things up and adding a little bit of water or a tiny bit of oil to them and using that as a treatment. So I hope that helps in understanding kind of where this whole hair loss thing might be coming from. Do your best to remain calm. I know it's not easy when hair's falling out and all the rest of it, but just understand that a lot of the way that you're thinking, living, or eating can have an impact. Is it both for white girl hair? Yes, it is. It's for all colors, all hairs, all types. And yeah, and obviously there's different types of hair. Like I've got this real, curly and frizzy hair, and that is very, has typically very dry. And so I am all about the oils, and about keeping that level of the level of moisture in the hair. And so there's obviously just general health care, ensuring that I'm glad you brought this up, Pam, thanks. Ensuring that you're using products that are as free of chemicals as possible, that you're not overly washing your hair. Sometimes folks feel like, oh, I've got to keep my hair super clean, and they're washing their hair far too much. And particularly in the wintertime when things can get a little bit dry, it's really good to ensure that you've got those oils in your hair, and that those things, that feeds the hair and nourishes it as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to pop those into the comments. As I said to you before, I will put a couple of links in there, one to my Facebook group, which I would love to have you join, and also, oh yes, yeah, sure, great, Karen. And also I'll put the names of these things, Amla and, ooh, does Amla make the hair on? I would imagine it does. I put Amla oil on my eyebrows and also a little bit on the eyelashes. So I imagine it would probably make all hair grow. So you might want to keep it away from the hair that you don't want to have growing. I think that's it for today. Thank you everybody for listening in. I really do appreciate your time. And I hope that this has helped a lot. Until next time, I think I am not going to be here next week. I'm running my first retreat here in Australia, right near Byron Bay, an Ayurvedic winter wellness retreat. If you are anywhere in the area and you want to come and join us, you can still get tickets, or you can still get a spot until this evening. Otherwise, I will not be around next week, but I will be back the week after. And to be honest, I can't tell you what I'll be talking about, but we'll be putting up a post to share that information with you. Until then, namaste. Thanks for sitting in. Cheers.